We continue today our program on entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs who have started with little or nothing and have made a success of it. Today we have with us Devika Martins, a very young, fine lady who has started a company called Martins Group. And you will be fascinated to hear her story. So here we go directly to Devika. Tell us, how did it all start?
So the first thing is, this started as a childhood passion, wherein my dad and my uncle would take us kids every Sunday to click old houses, dilapidated structures, and go in windows, which turned into a fascination initially at the stage. Then I had a bunch of old collections of photographs, and I decided to take up renovation. But of course, I had a degree in business administration, and that didn't make sense initially to get into a university. So I had to apply and got rejected many times. And then I kept on doing it. And then later on, I realized that this is something I really loved. So I decided to take it on and continue.
Fascinating. You went into business administration. You forgot about your heritage plans, etc., etc. Tell us, how did you get into learning design?
Around a year before I graduated, I was already taking art classes to get into a university which needed a very strong portfolio. I was rejected 4 times by a college that I wanted to get into, which was Politecnico di Milano. And I really need to work on and brush up my design and art skills. So that's how I got into that section in which I was trained. I had to create a portfolio and I had to put it up, and then I got chosen. So of course I did not get chosen to the institute that I wanted to, but I had to settle with Florence.
So you studied in Italy?
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that program. What do they do there?
So in that program, actually, I studied about lime plaster, about how to renovate and restore furniture. The different techniques in which you have to learn. It's very detailed techniques in which you know how the pellets of wood fit in, how furniture is made without screws and nuts, and how to restore old structures, whether we should use lime plaster, when we should use cement plaster, and how we can hold a structure of a particular heritage building properly so it's safe for people to walk under it. These are part of the program.
So it is not only furniture, it is everything to do with the interiors of the entire house.
Yes.
Including the civil works, etc.
Yes, including the structural work.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long was this program then?
It was a 1-year program, 1-year degree program.
And you get a master's degree?
A master's degree.
All right.
Yes.
So did your program with business administration help you at all?
Yes, it does, because I know it's a very... people always wonder why BBA and then restoration. But then you need to understand that today I manage people. Today it's more of a business than a passion. And I'm not going to say I've lost my focus. It is still my passion.
Okay.
But in order to get ahead, I need to train people. I need to get into the managerial position because I'm handling carpenters, electricians, plumbers, laborers. So I'm handling vendors as well. So it is a very business-oriented
project,
field. Yeah, because I also handle accounts. I handle people most of the time.
Wow, quite fascinating, isn't it? Tell me, did you go to get any help from SEBA or EDC in terms of financial assistance or anything like that?
No, I didn't. I didn't even apply, actually.
So you started this all on your own. Did you have to put a lot of investment into this?
No, I didn't have to put an investment, because what happens here is the client pays me before I start the project.
Okay.
So nothing really comes from my pocket. Of course, initially when I had to set up my website and an office space and the legal aspects, then yes, I had to spend from my pocket.
Okay.
But no, I didn't take any help. Also because I don't need it. I don't need a ton of material, machinery, so it's easier.
No, but you said something about plastic, what is that? You use the word lime.
Lime plastic.
Yeah. Does that cost much more money than, say, cement?
No, it doesn't. It's cheaper than cement, but it is labor intensive. So my laborers will charge you more for doing a lime plaster,
Okay.
and they will charge you less to do a cement plaster.
So for the benefit of our viewers, can you just explain the difference between lime and cement? When does one use lime as opposed to cement?
Yeah. So the thing is, many people today who have old houses, they think that we need to patch up the house with cement plaster. But I don't believe this, because a house that is made with lime needs to be finished with lime. And the reason being because lime holds and binds the structure for a really long time in terms of cement. Cement is concrete. Okay, cement is bound to crack. It's going to heat up your structure. You're going to have problems with the cooling and the ventilation inside. So if you have a tiled roof and you're going to concrete your entire home and structure, then the ventilation gets affected. So in the future, you're going to put an AC, or you're going to need extra fans, or you'll have to work on your ventilation problems. Okay. But if you have lime plaster, it keeps the structure cooler. No doubt it's labor intensive and it's expensive, but if you want to finish your house, you want to restore your house, then yes, I would suggest use lime plaster.
What about the staying power of how long does it last?
Lime plaster?
Yeah.
Most of our monuments, our churches, our temples, most buildings that were built during before our independence has all been made of lime plaster. And if you realize, they're still lasting till today.
400 years, 300
exactly.
years.
So
Okay.
I think it's education. People are still not aware that lime plaster is the strongest.
Okay. Now tell me, where do you get your clients from? I mean, are they all from Goa, or they people who buy old houses and then ask you to please help us to restore it, kind of thing? Is that what is it all about?
Yeah, initially, actually, my client base is mostly, I have very few Goans. I have about 3 Goans at the moment. But many of my clients are people, as you said. They come out from different parts of the country and they decide to purchase a house in Goa.
Okay.
And then I end up restoring them. So
how do you advertise yourself? I mean, I have never seen any paper advertisement of your company.
yeah, correct. Yeah, because most people today don't really read the newspapers, so I don't believe in newspaper advertising.
Okay.
And the same thing is with billboards. People don't really look at billboards. So most of the time, people are looking at their phones. So the best way to tackle them and get my audience is through social media. So I feel it's not, and it's cheaper to advertise on social media as compared to a billboard or a magazine. And I get my audience from social, those who follow me and who probably are.
So which is your favorite media?
I think I would say Instagram for the moment, but I think it's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I just started branching out into LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is more for the business clients who want to see how to restore their house, so it can help their portfolio, benefit them in the long run for the resale.
So how long have you been in this thing now, and how does it look for you for the future?
I've been in this. This is going to be the 3rd year. I started,
Already 3 years?
Yes, I started in 2016. I was very quiet initially. There was no social media posts for at least a year and a half. Then I started using it and started being a little active. Yeah, the future looks good. I think people are really interested in restoring their houses. But as you know, the main problem with restoring their ancestral house is litigation and family issues that cannot be resolved. So until that, we probably have something over there, then maybe people will think about restoring it.
So if a person from Goa has a beautiful house, old house, which is not been well maintained, say, for a long time, and they come to you, and they're actually living in the house, what would you tell them? What would be your advice to them?
Advice as in to restore the house?
They want it to be restored. They know it's going to cost some money. They know that they are living there and it's going to be inconvenient. So what is the advice you give them? I mean, is it really inconvenient to stay in the house while it is being restored?
Yes, I would say it is inconvenient to stay in the house.
So what would you advise them? Go and stay in an apartment for a while?
Possibly, I don't know, but it depends. Otherwise, I will try to restore room by room, which, look, I do a whole house in more or less 90 to 100 days, okay, which is quite good because nobody really does a house that fast. And I have about 10 laborers that continue your work. So if you're going to have a restoration project underway in your home that you are staying under, then it's going to be really noisy. There's going to be a lot of dust because we are working with cement and sand and plaster. And of course, there's going to be a lot of noise because of the laborers. So I would not suggest giving it to me when you're staying there. I mean, for your convenience and peace of mind, nothing else.
Right. Yeah, but then they have to come and see what's the progress, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's, of course, you're welcome for that, no problem.
So give us a typical situation where people stayed out for a while you were doing it, and you actually finished it on schedule.
I don't really have a client who was in the house, but there was somebody who was staying in the house. So it's easier to do it. But of course, if there is someone who tries to micromanage, then there could be a problem with my laborers and with him. But if there is no problem and we can work smoothly, then it is quite, it happens quite quickly. Sometimes less than 90 days, because they're very, it's not like I have to bring down the whole structure. It's tough, but it is easier to do it because they're working continuously. We don't have a Sunday off or a holiday break. So it's easier to work.
You mentioned that you had something like many laborers, more than 10, etc.
Yeah.
Carpenters, electricians, plumbers, the works. Where do you get these guys from, and how do they stay with you for such a long time?
I think, yeah, good question. I'm really good to my labor force and my team because honestly, they are my oxygen. Without them, there's no way I can take the business forward. So I don't tolerate anybody mistreating them or handling them badly because they are my team. Everybody's equal. There's no high, low. Everybody's the same. And they've been with me because I think I do give them a lot of benefits that I would say most people don't. But you need to understand that my labor force is a little more skillful. It's more to do with they're really old and they're experienced and they know the lime plaster well. So for me also it's money to keep them.
So where did you get these guys from?
Most of them two are from Rajasthan who brought some of their teams. My carpenters are from Goa. I don't have a carpenter who's outside because they understand the Portuguese influence that was happening in Goa during that stage. So it's very important that they understand that concept because Rajasthan is very, the details are very different. In the Goan Portuguese, the Konkan area, the details are a different kind altogether. So I needed the Goan carpenters.
So how do you manage with language and things?
I speak Hindi, not fluently, but I manage okay. Then of course I have contractors who help me out. So it's easy.
Quite interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Now tell me, Devika, where does government have a place in this in terms of granting you approvals or whatever, or encouraging you to do business?
Granting me approvals. The other thing is if a client wants to renovate, they have to apply for a renovation license. But that doesn't come, that I don't handle personally, that the client has to go and get the permission done. But the government can help us to create some kind of awareness because I've noticed many Goans are actually taking down their old houses and selling them. And I know maybe it's okay for them, maybe they have a personal reason, but nobody makes these old houses anymore. So there is something that maybe if they can, I know the government was supposed to start something to do with heritage renovation and trying to give funds to families who have an old Goan house. But I don't know whether I don't think that's still coming up. So I'm not sure.
What about terms when you're dealing with the actual customer? Do they give you a hard time in terms of paying your dues and etc., etc.? Because some people sometimes say, no, I won't pay now. Do you have that problem?
Of course, I had a problem initially. When I first started out, I had a problem with one client who refused to pay me after work was completed. But then I was inexperienced at that time. And now I don't do that anymore because I have a legal contract that binds the client to the work that I'm going to be doing. So if you don't pay me, I will not continue the job. Because obviously the funds are not coming in for me to continue. So yeah, as far as that goes.
So that is working well now with you?
Yeah, it is because otherwise.
Now you've been in the business for what, 3-4 years?
Yeah, 3.
Yeah. How is the future looking for you?
I think it's looking good in terms of people. I'm not sure whether the Goan community is so huge that they want to restore because I don't get many Goan clients, as I told you. So it's many people who are buying old houses and bringing it to me and saying, okay, can you restore it for us? So I really hope that the Goan community restores it because I don't know if you heard Wendell Roderick saying that Asagaon has been colonized by Delhi. That's because all the Delhi people are actually buying old houses and Asagaon has become so crazy. It looks great. The work and the money that the Delhiites have actually put into Asagaon is crazy. The prices also have soared over there. So I really hope the Goans start coming up and saying, okay, let's restore the houses, because it's not expensive. It's a one-time investment that you have to do every, I'm guessing, 30 to 50 years. It depends how much they're willing to spend. And they can actually restore their houses, so it looks good.
Tell me one thing, which is a house worth restoring? Because there are some houses which are, the typical old design and not even, I would say, ergonomic, not really comfortable to live in. Would that be a thing to restore, or what kind of houses would you recommend to restore?
I would recommend something that is made with laterite and lime plaster.
Okay.
Because many of the houses were built with only mud. Now, the thing is, I'm not saying mud is bad. Mud is great as well. But in that concept, when you have mud and lime plaster and the house has fallen down, then it's really difficult to put up those walls, because the soil has to be treated and the area around the house has to be treated with termites or rodent pest control. So it's really difficult to restore a mud house. But in terms of laterite, I would consider, if your house is laterite and lime, then yes, there is a bigger chance to restore it as compared to mud, because mud will just collapse.
So generally in Goa, would you say most of the houses are laterite or most of the houses are mud?
So far, most of them have been laterite. But there are patches on the wall that's been mud.
Okay.
So that's a good thing.
So you would be able to restore it.
Yes.
Now, if it's a say 2-3 bedroom house, and not very well designed in the way the normal good architects do it nowadays, where they keep your privacy, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So, would you be able to change that house to make it a little bit more personal and private?
When you talk about private, I'm guessing because every door opens into another room.
No, I mean, say for example, in the old days, we used to have our toilets way behind
okay.
and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
like
in the
big
current
toilets.
context of things, that becomes ludicrous.
Yes.
You can't do that. So
Yes.
would you be able to make it useful, user-friendly, as it were, as opposed to what it was in the old days?
Yeah. So most houses today don't. I haven't worked with any house that has a toilet or a bathroom inside the bedroom. So that's the common thing that many clients come with me and they ask me whether we can build a bathroom inside every bedroom. That's a common thing under my renovation. So we do build a bathroom and the toilet. So because most of them, they go out and they decide to put up on Airbnb or booking.com, so they want to give it out on rent. So then it becomes convenient to have a bathroom inside the house.
So it is possible to do that?
Yeah, it is possible.
to do that.
It's expensive because the walls are really huge. But it's possible, yeah.
Okay. All right. So now you mentioned that your siblings, and that is how your company came to be called the Martins Group, would eventually get into business.
Yeah.
Now, leave the siblings out of this for a moment. As far as you are concerned, how do you intend to go deeper into your business, or let's say diversify to some extent?
So I'm really looking at what I can do in terms of the Goan culture. I think as Goans, we have a sense of culture that, as you know, India doesn't have it. It's a very welcoming culture. So I'm trying to keep that alive. Hopefully we can do something. I'm not really sure how I could take this up in the future, but I don't have an exact plan as yet. But I would say that I can try and restore a house, or maybe try and get into a little bit of hotel management or something of that sort, where we can actually help people get a little bit of cash flow into their old houses. So let's see if that works out. I don't know, like maybe a property management.
Yeah, that's right.
group.
Interesting. So you heard it all. You heard how this young lady from business administration, she goes into a passion which is designing interiors and heritage houses, and she has made a success out of it. So even if you have chosen a wrong career and in this case it was not a wrong career, it just happened to be the first came last and last came first, that kind of thing. But even if you have chosen something wrong, but your passion still exists and you want to do it, take the example of Devika. She has been there, she's at it, she's got a plan for the future, and she wants to be a success. All is required is, I want to do it. And if you want to do it, go and speak to her a little bit and she'll tell you more. Take her example, a young lady who has made it big. Thank you very much, Devika. It's very
Thank
kind of you
you
to
so
come here
much.
today, and I'm sure you'll be a great example for our youth of Goa.
Thank you. I hope to.
Yeah.
Thank you.